Millions are screaming at their TVs right this second. They're painting their faces, throwing their remotes across the room, and getting completely emotionally destroyed because 11 strangers lost a game. But you genuinely do not care.
Society kind of acts like you're boring or emotionless because you aren't part of the 60% of Americans who follow sports religiously. Honestly, you might even wonder if you're missing out on some fundamental human experience. Like, is there actually something wrong with your brain? But here's the catch.
Neuroscience reveals you aren't broken at all. Actually, scratch that. Your brain is simply wired to prioritize meaning, control, and internal rewards over mass entertainment. You're naturally operating as an independent thinker.
Let's dive into this idea of tribal identity versus individual identity. Sports fans rely heavily on social identity theory. They lean on those ancient us versus them tribal instincts just to feel secure. You, on the other hand, draw your identity from a completely different well, your personal values and your actual skills.
As this quote perfectly sums up, I don't need to belong to something bigger to feel complete. According to a fascinating 2019 study, you have a massively higher tolerance for being completely out of sync with society. You literally don't need a jersey to know who you are, proving you possess stronger internal validation and deep independent thinking.
So, what does this all mean? Let's look at Section 1, the dopamine trap.
This table really breaks it down. Fans are quite literally addicted to intermittent reinforcement. That's the exact same unpredictable dopamine mechanism that makes slot machines so addictive. They're constantly chasing short emotional spikes based on unpredictable outcomes. Your brain, however, it craves mastery and deep focus. You naturally seek out predictable agency and long-term satisfaction.
But wait, it actually gets weirder. Research from the University of Chicago suggests your complete indifference to whether a team wins or loses might not just be a preference, it might literally be hardwired into your DNA through variations in your dopamine receptor genes. Crazy, right?
So, the absolutely crucial point here is how you choose to spend your emotional energy. It all comes down to parasocial investment versus direct engagement.
See, fans invest heavily in outcomes they absolutely cannot control. They engage in something called basking in reflected glory when a team wins, basically adopting that external victory as their own. But your brain practices emotional efficiency. You naturally reject that exhausting psychological trade-off unless you are directly participating and can actually influence the outcome yourself.
Let's move right into Section 2, your hidden creative advantage. We all have a limited capacity for empathy and emotional investment. A 2021 study shows that instead of directing that energy towards strangers and jerseys, non-fans allocate their empathy toward building ideas, understanding complex systems, and driving their own personal growth through creative projects and intellectual challenges.
Psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi found that these deep, highly rewarding flow states come from active participation. This means your brain is inherently wired to build and create, rather than just sitting back on the couch watching others perform.
And this brilliantly illustrates why you often feel way more present in your own life. Think about it. Reclaiming your time means you aren't spending 3 hours every single Sunday experiencing someone else's simulated struggle. You are actively living your own.
Because you aren't riding that exhausting emotional roller coaster, you possess massive cognitive bandwidth. This is your ultimate leverage right here. Step 1, skip the spectacle. Step 2, leverage that emotional efficiency. And Step 3, use that direct engagement to build. You have the exact focus and energy required to launch a profitable side hustle, build a scalable business, or master a high-value skill that actually pays you dividends.
You're not missing out on the game, you're just playing a completely different one with actual, real-world stakes. So the only question left to answer is this: what are you going to build with your reclaimed 3 hours today?